celebrate Azadi Ka Amrut Mahotsav, 75 years of India's independence. We celebrate her freedom strugglers, her scientists, her sportsmen, her leaders, her culture, history, geography, and her armed forces. The armed forces protect India's integrity and sovereignty of its land borders by being present on the borders. India's borders, which are mountainous, clad with ice and snow, with the terrain treacherous and the climate hostile. Hello and welcome to DD News. I'm Nandita Dagar. In this episode, we look into the workings of the BRO on the ground, specifically into the Project Himank, how it is connecting the rest of the country with Eastern Ladakh right up to the LAC. In this year's budget, that is for the financial year 2022 to 2023, the capital budget of the Border Roads Organization was increased by the Modi government by 40% from the previous financial year, from 2,500 crores rupees to 3,500 crore rupees. Not a surprise, because creating and developing border infrastructure is one of the key and prime focuses of the Modi government. This was of course accelerated by the Chinese aggression on the Indian LAC in 2020. For states like Ladakh, this is a boon, because these are mountainous regions, and all the major roads, including the national highways in the state of Ladakh, are built by the Border Roads Organization. These roads are built in treacherous conditions at very high altitude in extreme hostile climate.
Umlingla is connecting Chishumle Demchok, which is 15 kilometers from the LAC, and it is providing strengthened security metrics to the deployed forces there. Then Leh Loma Hanle road, which is now a fantastic road which will support our armed forces, and also a lot of tourists go on this road. It is very popular amongst the tourists. Umlingla road, what was made by us at a height of 19,024 feet, which has now become the highest motorable road. It has been certified by Guinness Book of World Record that it is the highest motorable road in the world. So we have been able to put the flag of India in this domain, and it has been quite a challenge to construct this road at that height. We are also working on NPD road, that is Nimu Padam Darcha road, which is going to be the third access to Leh, which will connect Janskar and Lahore Spiti also. And on this road will be coming Shinkunla tunnel, which is going to be 4.25 kilometers, and this, when completed, this twin tunnel will become the highest tunnel in the world.
Border Roads Organization does not just develop and make roads, it also operates them, maintains them, and keeps them open throughout the year. Because in places like Ladakh, which are treacherous terrain, there is also hostile environment, hostile climatic conditions. During the summers, it's the snow which will melt. During the winters, it will the snow which will accumulate on the roads, and rainfall also. So therefore, to keep the roads in a good working condition, the Border Roads Organization uses several techniques and takes several measures to keep the roads open throughout the year, so that the armed forces can be mobilized at any time at short notice.
Presently, the double laning work of Karu Tangse road is under progress, which you can see in the background. So we are at one of the construction sites where we are executing a culvert. So you can see in the background you have a conventional culvert which has been constructed, which takes approximately 60 days to be completed. So now BRO has introduced a new technology wherein we are using precast culverts in place of these conventional culverts to reduce the time considerably. So we are approximately saving around 70% of time in these construction activities, thereby expediting the progress of Karu-Tangse road and subsequently to the DSDBO road. For a conventional culvert, as per basic engineering practices, it requires approximately 60 days before it can be opened for traffic, because it has to be constructed and then cured for at least 28 days. So the entire duration for completion of a culvert is around 60 days. By using these precast methodology, we are able to save around 40 to 45 days. That means we are able to execute it in 10 to 15 days in lieu of the earlier 60 days.
In regions like Ladakh, the Border Roads Organization constructs culverts. These are means to channelize the snow, the accumulated snow during the winters, or the melted snow during the summers, rainwater, etc. from the roads, so that these roads can be in a spick and span condition. Troops, armored vehicles, personnel, logistics, they can be transported and mobilized in a very short period. In the past 5 years, Border Roads Organization has completed more than 3,500 kilometers of roads on the borders. And more than 6,500 kilometers long roads are under construction. They are in progress. In the last year alone, Border Roads Organization has completed 102 projects. That too contains about 87 bridges and culverts, and the rest 15 are critical roads. This is a record because the Border Roads Organization is speeding up its time frames. Why is the work so slow in these areas of Ladakh? Because it is a high altitude area. It is difficult for the equipment, men, material to come here at this height. Creating and even double laning a road at this altitude is not an easy process. It is a long, tedious and tortuous process which is very slow. First, as you saw, the drilling machine will drill the huge rocks or boulders into smaller rocks. Then, as we can see here, the Border Roads personnel are in these drilled holes putting gelatin sticks or explosives. Then they will be blasting them. These small rocks will then be cleared by the excavators. Then of course the building the road from scratch will start again. Why does this require such a long period? Because the availability of men, material and equipment at such high altitudes is always a problem. The working season is short from May to October, before the snowfall starts and after the snow melts. Notwithstanding these challenges, the Border Roads Organization is speeding up timelines by actually acquiring new technology, not just from abroad but Indian innovative technology.
पहले जो हम लोग कन्वेंशनल जो हमारा तरीका था वो ब्लैक टॉपिंग हम लोग करते थे रोड को, जो कि हर साल हमारी डैमेज हुआ करती थी। स्नो क्लियरेंस के लिए हम लोग ज़्यादातर पहले स्नो कटर और अपना ये स्नो प्लो और डोजर्स हम लोग यूज़ करते थे, जिसकी वजह से हमारी जो ब्लैक टॉपिंग सरफेस थी वो हमेशा डैमेज हुआ करती थी। पर पिछले साल बॉर्डर रोड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ने अपनी तरफ से एक इनिशिएटिव लेते हुए बीइंग अ पार्ट ऑफ मॉडर्न टेक्नोलॉजी ILCB नाम करके एक टेक्नोलॉजी यूज करने का सुझाव लिया।
ये इंटरलॉक्ड कंक्रीट ब्रिक्स जो हैं ये ILCB हैं, और ये अब इसको आप रोड पे ले करेंगे जो कन्वेंशनल ब्लैक टॉप नहीं होगा। इससे फायदा हुआ है आपको क्योंकि आप
बिल्कुल मैम, पिछले साल हमने जब ये टेक्नोलॉजी यूज़ करने का अपना डिसाइड किया तो वहाँ पे हमने 150 मीटर का एक ट्रायल पैच किया ऑन चांगला टॉप, जिसने कि अच्छे रिजल्ट हमें दिखाए। और इस साल उसी को कंटिन्यू करते हुए हमने लगभग इस वक्त हमने 2 किलोमीटर के जो PILCB यही ब्लॉक्स हैं, हमने 2 किलोमीटर के लगभग हम लोग कंप्लीट कर चुके हैं। अभी आप देख रहे हैं पीछे की तरफ की गाड़ियाँ उस पर चल रही हैं, हैवी गाड़ियाँ भी चल रही हैं। और इसकी जो सस्टेनेंसी है दैट इज़ ऑफ M50 ग्रेड ऑफ कंक्रीट, जो कि काफ़ी इसके टेस्ट वगैरह हम लोगों ने किए और इस हमें अच्छे रिजल्ट्स दिखाए।
Now we are resorting to ILCBs, that is interlocking concrete blocks at all the passes, because after the winters when you used to open these passes, the upper crust of the roads used to get damaged, which is again we'll have to relay the upper crust, which costs money. So we have taken a decision to put ILCBs on all the passes, and Changla is the first pass where we have started this. Now we are also working at Zojila, where not only it will prevent the damage to the road during the snow clearance, but also will be able to sustain the load of tanks and heavy machinery which is required to be deployed ahead of the passes, because these are M50 blocks. That means they can endure the weight up to 50 tons or maybe more than that also. When we have done our tests, we found they are M70 or maybe higher than that.
Out of the world's 13 highest motorable passes, 7 are in the Ladakh region, and they have been constructed by the Project Himank of the Border Roads Organization. Changla Pass is another, it's the 4th highest motorable pass in India, and it's constructed by the Border Roads Organization. It stands at a height of 17,600 feet. It is the gateway to the Karakoram Pass.
This is one of the strategically significant passes in Eastern Ladakh. This connects the entire Leh and other parts of Ladakh to DSDBO, and this access is the main supply route for the entire troops deployed in the DSDBO sector. We had celebrated the flag hoisting ceremony here as part of Har Ghar Tiranga a couple of days back. So we have hosted the tricolor here. This is probably one of the highest tricolors in this particular sector. This pass is experiences intense snowfall for almost 7 to 8 months every year, and BRO carries out snow clearance right from starting from the month of November till March, April, because we have to keep this pass open so that the vehicles required to maintain the troops deployed ahead are not cut off.
The world's highest suspension bridge, built at an altitude of 12,200 feet by the Border Roads Organization over the river Shyok. So why is the BRO building another bridge over the river Shyok? The reason is that this bridge is the vital link or an interlink on the DSDBO road which leads directly to Karakoram. And this bridge could not support very heavy vehicles or very heavy loads, that is artillery guns, armored vehicles, tanks, etc. The new bridge, which is almost complete and will be ready by September this year, can support the passage of tanks as well. It is very important for the army to have access to DBO, because if the Indian Army loses access to DBO, the Chinese and Pakistanis in collusion can cut off the Siachen Glacier and Karakoram Pass from the Indians. And therefore it becomes really essential that the Indian Army is ready to deploy quickly.
The length of the span of the bridge is 120 meters, and you can see the span has already been launched. We have been throughout working during winters also, when the temperature drops down to minus 30 degrees here. So 30-meter span was constructed last year, and this year winters we started this 90-meter span, which is about to get completed, and hopefully we'll be able to start the traffic on it with effect from September onwards.
India's northern border, China, has always objected to India developing border infrastructure. But since 2015, the Modi government has accelerated building border infrastructure and is relentlessly building roads, bridges over rivers and airfields in the border areas. This is the beginning of the Durbuk Shyok Daulat Beg Oldie road. In fact, this is the 0 point. From here in Durbuk this road starts and it leads right up to Daulat Beg Oldie, which is India's access to the Karakoram Pass. India, being a peninsular country, obviously has territorial waters, but it also shares more than 15,000 kilometers of borders with its neighbors, land borders. In Ladakh, China shares a de facto boundary, the LAC, with India of around 850 kilometers. Since the attempted intrusions by the Chinese from the China-occupied Tibet in 2020, in April, May and June, Chinese have deployed more than 50 to 60,000 troops along the LAC in Ladakh. India also rapidly, swiftly deployed its troops, ammunition, tanks, armaments and guns in a mirror deployment equaling and proportional to the Chinese.
BRO, in all our routes, we are instituting various measures, for example, WB metal crash barriers, delineators, road studs and cat eyes, and also other kind of measures, so that the passengers on the road experience a smooth and absolutely hassle-free passage on our road.
Sir, what is the strategic significance of your area of responsibility, Chumathang, Nyoma?
The road on which we have travelled currently, Leh Loma, it's actually the lifeline for any kind of movement on the southeastern Ladakh. It's also connecting a lot of important civil villages en route, and also various of our defence establishments en route. And all the important movement of civil as well as military traffic is done through this axis. That is the importance of the axis what we are maintaining currently.
Since tourists use this road also and other people also, we have started using the crash barriers, which was not the norm earlier. We have started putting a lot of facilities along the roads, and a big initiative has been taken this year by Honorable Raksha Mantri, where we will be starting the construction of 75 bro cafes through PPP model, which will be quite a new thing in the field of BRO, where they will include some kind of snack restaurant, MI room, or at places oxygen bars and other facilities, conveniences and parking areas. So a number of new things we are doing. Now for the solace or the comfort of our people and also the CPLs, that is labor force what work for us, we have replaced their old vintage accommodation by the centrally heated accommodation now, so they can be more comfortable, their efficiency can increase. They used to be miserable during the winters staying there. And we are resorting to now zero carbon accommodation, which will provide central heating without using any appliances with that technique, and which is going to be again a very major changes, a game changer in the field of technology.
China captured a sovereign country, Tibet, in 1959. But since the early 2000s, China has feverishly been building roads, bridges along the line of actual control in Tibet. Now, for the past 10 years, India too is catching up. The Modi government which came in the year 2014 made border development and infrastructure development at the borders one of its key priorities, because this is new India, assertive and ready and willing to defend her interests. But China has an advantage. Tibet is a plateau, and therefore it is much easier for them to build wider, smoother roads there. But the road from Chumathang to Nyoma can beat any Chinese road in Tibet. It is so smooth and wide that it can give any road built by the Chinese PLA in Tibet a run for its money.
Infrastructure in Ladakh is growing by leaps and bounds. Probably it is also driven by the fact that Ladakh has become a union territory. So a lot of emphasis by the union territory in expanding the size of roads which are already existing. So if there is a class 9 road, all of them are being converted into national highway double lane standards, which serves the large number of tourists which are coming to Ladakh, as well as a lot of emphasis now on tunneling and making Ladakh accessible to the population of our country, both during winter months as well as summer. So all weather connectivity, that's the mantra which the border roads is looking at. There's a tunneling boom actually in Ladakh, especially regarding the National Highway 3. There are tunnels which are coming up at Taglangla, Nakila and Lachungla. This is driven by the Prime Minister's special development package for Ladakh.
The worst challenge what we face in Ladakh is our workforce has to do work. 70% of the work is done above 14,000 feet, which is a physically very challenging thing to do. And we can't keep our people for a long time on those heights because of physical ailments which can be caused by high altitude and lack of oxygen. So we had to devise certain means of deploying these people, maybe like Umlingla. What we did, we just deployed these teams for 2 hours on a changing basis. And we also have to upgrade our machinery, because machines also, their efficiency goes down in the high altitude. At those temperatures of minus 15 or minus 20 we work there in the working season, and working season itself is shrunk to 4 to 5 months.
In its history of little more than 60 years, the BRO has built roads, more than 60,000 kilometers of roads, more than 840 bridges, 19 airfields and 4 tunnels, which are world-class tunnels. The areas that it has connected have brought in economic prosperity to the people. The far-flung villages have made people happy and prosperous. So we can safely say that BRO is not just building roads, bridges and airfields near the borders. It is building a nation. With camera persons RK and Kamlesh in Eastern Ladakh, this is Nandita Dagar for DD News.